Hey everybody, welcome to the 33rd episode of the Open One podcast. And today I'm joined by Kevin Deaves, who's also known as the Mind Shaman. And I remember when I first saw that on Instagram, I'm just like, that's a fucking awesome name. I love that name. So how you doing? Thanks for
I'm great, mate. I'm great, mate. I'm great.
cool. Great for you. Good for you to join me, bro. So I'm looking forward to what we're going to get into. And before we get started, do you want to just give a bit of an introduction to yourself and what it is that you do?
Oh yeah, so I work as a mindset coach. That's mainly what I do is I work as a mindset coach, and the main thing I do is one-to-ones with people for all sorts of like different things regarding like mental health or making big changes in their lives, or making a transition from one type of like work to another. It really depends on what the person needs to work on individually. So yeah, mainly mindset coaching, but I also hold a Reiki level 1 and level 2 attunement courses each month. So I teach people Reiki up to Reiki master level. I hold a meditation and breathwork course each month to teach people really sort of like effective techniques to get into meditation, get into journaling, get into, speaking positively to themselves through using affirmations. And I also use a plant medicine, a medicine called Kambo. It's an Amazonian medicine that comes from a frog. So basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm geared towards giving people the best possible chance of letting go of old patterns of behavior.
That is awesome, man. And each modality you're speaking about there, I just have all these questions coming through my mind. And I definitely want to get into Kambo a bit later too, as well, because there'll be people here who don't know what that is. But let's
Yeah, of
start with
course.
a bit about. Actually, I think good place to start. I just saw this on your Instagram here, and it's one of your latest posts, and it's saying a man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. And is that
Yeah.
Goth? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Goth?
Gator.
Cool. Yeah. So do you want to unpack that a bit? What does that mean to you?
Well, so the outside world is a reflection of what's going on within us, right? And people actually think the outside world exists, but it doesn't really. It's a reflection of what's going on within us. So you wake up in the morning, you're feeling sad and lonely and depressed. Well, you will experience more of that in reality, and that's the reality you'll see through your eyes. Whereas if you wake up grateful and happy and full of life, well, that's the reality that's reflected back to you. And then I've noticed, so I do this technique with people where I get them to close their eyes, create a resource with a technique, and then when they open their eyes, everything looks brighter, the world looks different, and everyone's like, "Oh, why is that?" And I said, "Because you change what's going on within you." So you will always experience a reflection of what's going on within your heart at that time. Okay. If you're bitter, angry, and resentful, you will experience more in life that will make you feel bitter, angry, and resentful. But if you're loving and grateful and you allow yourself to enjoy life regardless of what it throws at you, well, that's going to be reflected back to you.
Love that, man. And yeah, I would agree completely with what you're saying. And I also like to think about how this sort of comes together collectively. There's like we're all sort of creating our own realities but then it's connected, and then what happens for maybe the nation or the world is actually influenced by the people and the thoughts that they have. And what do you think about that? How we like collectively create this experience?
We are collectively creating the experience, but unfortunately, at the moment, we're collectively creating the experience that a small group of people wants us to create, because they shape our perceptions through media and alternative media, and as a result, we create basically the world that they'd like to see. So, if enough people, I believe, if enough people unplug and start to create a more suitable reality for themselves as an individual, it takes them small groups of, let's say, rich men.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually a really good way to put it.
Because news doesn't give us news. News shapes our perceptions of reality. We create reality based on our perceptions.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it. That a small group of evil people have essentially hijacked the collective's reality creation abilities, and they program people to create what they want, what they select people want. But yeah, if we can unplug people, and I guess that's essentially what you're doing, right? You're helping people to unplug from that to create
Yeah.
something much better.
Yeah, so what I try to encourage people to do is not find a person to follow, but to find what's really good within themselves. What is it that they've got to offer the world? I try to help a person to that place. So rather than me getting people to follow my idea of reality, I want them to discover what's already within themselves that they can share with the rest of us. So I use an example would be my partnership. You know, the girl that I'm with, right? So in all my other relationships in the past, I know me and my ex partners. It was like we were destined to try to destroy each other, right?
Yeah.
And I know I was 100% responsible for everything I experienced in those relationships, even though I didn't believe that at the time. Whereas now with my relationship with my partner, because as I've taught her how to work on herself and taught her how to process emotions and go through old memories and try to leave them behind in the past. And what I've been rewarded with from that is a really amazing person, because she's developed really well. She does tarot readings. She's painted loads. She painted, but she's been doing work on herself. She's painted about 50 paintings, and she consistently improves. But also, she's really good to be able to speak to, so I can have a really good conversation with her. You know, and I know it as a result of, I'm not trying to shape how she is at all. I'm there to help if she needs it, but I want to see what comes from her. I don't want her to be an extension of me. I want her to be her own person. You don't tell a flower how to grow. You know what I mean? So what's coming from here is really beautiful to see. And I understand that each person has got that potential in them. So if I can go some to help them find that, then I think I've done a good job.
Absolutely, man. That's really powerful, and props to you for having a relationship like that. And I guess with your analogy, it's like, yeah, you don't tell a flower how to grow, but you might give it some water.
Yes, you know, give it nourishment
Yeah,
and whatever and support if needed. But ultimately, you can't instruct how to grow, because whatever's going to unfold from the flower already knows what it's doing. So yeah,
so
often in relationships,
cool.
we end up with a partner. Either we become an extension of them, or they become an extension of us. And then we're in a codependent situation. Whereas I don't think codependent situations are very suitable for us, because then we're relying on an external source, an external person, to validate our sense of self, when we should try to be at a point where we can validate ourselves without the need for external validation. Because you've seen, it's very fleeting, that external validation anyway. We could wait for it forever.
Yeah, man. And I guess as you were saying, you felt like it was 100% your responsibility how those relationships went down. But then, as you've worked on yourself and progressed yourself, do you feel like you've attracted, I guess, for better want of a better word, a better partner?
Well, yeah, so I also understand that every single time I've been in a partnership, I've only met my own projections onto that person. So I was always projecting a part of myself outwards anyway. And that part I was projecting outwards was in relationship to my perceived relationship with my mum. And ultimately, I say perceived relationship because how I perceive things at the age of 2 compared to how I perceive things at the age of 42 are two completely different things. So now I understand that, if anything, I probably had it too easy. I don't think my mum traumatized me enough. Right. And to be fair, so instead of me, and I mean, I understand a lot of people have a really tough childhood, whereas I've come to the conclusion now that I didn't. I perceived at many times in my life that that was the case, but now after doing work on myself, I now perceive that no, I had it absolutely brilliant, and my mum and dad were great, and you know everything that they done. Like my mum had 6 kids, of course she's going to bring new babies home. And then 2-year-old me feels abandoned because I've been replaced by another baby. That was my brother. But I understand these things need to happen to create the dynamics. So now I have an amazing relationship with my mum because she hasn't done anything wrong. It was just my brain at the time perceived
Yeah.
things to be wrong. Yeah. So that's why I say perceived trauma, because it wasn't actual trauma, it is how I perceive things at that young age. Whereas now I've changed the way I've perceived that information.
It's brilliant to hear you say you don't think your mum traumatized you enough. You don't often hear people say that. And so why do you think you would have benefited from a bit more trauma?
No, I'm talking about, right. So I think I would have benefited from being put into like some sort of fighting discipline where, and I think we would have benefited from, my mum didn't really like us fighting as kids, but I think me and my brothers would have really benefited from having, the odd little scrap, because
Ah,
it's
I
an
see what you
important,
mean. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's an important developmental stage when with mammals. We rough and tumble play. So we never really got a chance to do that because my mum always used to break it up. So now I seek the rough and tumble play now by I go to the boxing gym and I rough and tumble play with my mates in there, because it's actually needed, because we are mammals. We have to express them part of ourselves as well. Otherwise, they become potentially toxic. So a lot of the toxic people in the world are actually some of the more naive people,
Okay, that's
because
interesting. Yeah.
it's unintegrated aggression. So the aggression is a person who is they believe themselves to be a good person, but they're not capable of causing harm. They're not really a good person, and that aggression is suppressed, and it can potentially cause more harm. Whereas integrated aggression might be, you probably know some boxing trainers or MMA coaches, and they are massively capable of causing you great harm, but they don't, because you got it under conscious control. It's the same energy, but being expressed in different ways. Okay, so it's important not to suppress that energy as well. So I think I would have benefited from some sort of something physical, or at least having the odd scrap of my brothers.
Okay, yeah. So that's different to, I guess, what I first thought you meant was like emotional trauma, I suppose. But yeah, a bit more like
Yeah,
rough
yeah.
and
So
tumble. Yeah.
remember, if a person hasn't had enough adversity from a young age, so say for example, you get someone who's never had any sort of challenge at all,
Yeah.
and then at the age of 18 they get beaten up. That event at the age of 18 will be devastating, because they had no idea that reality could be like that. Whereas if you've had adversity and challenge at a young age, a few and quite a bit of it, then you understand that reality isn't all love and light. There's other parts to reality that can become, it's dark. Can be. It can be fucking heavy. Some heavy shit can happen, mate. So we need to be prepared for it. You know.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And okay, cool. So let's get into a little bit about the actual modalities that you offer to people. So there's a few things here that I can see. You've got like anchoring, you've got mantra, you've got affirmation. So what you said at the beginning as well, someone will come to you and they'll obviously tell you what's going on, and then I guess you tailor make a package, or how does it go down?
Yeah, so the so at the moment I'm doing individual coaching sessions, but then I'm getting a lot of people coming in to do a package where they come 4 weeks in a row. The first week will be about processing emotional trauma. So the main feelings that affect that person individually, I'll teach them how to process those feelings, and in that same session, I'll teach them about journaling. I'll
Mm.
help them re-establish like a positive habit that they could have already done before. And then I'll teach them a really good meditation technique. And then the second week, we do something called timeline therapy, which is an NLP technique. And it's unbelievably effective for helping a person let go of past traumas, like some of their most significant events that's ever happened to a person. You can help them reframe how they feel about it and help them release the emotions connected to it. And then I reinforce the journaling, reinforce the positive habits, reinforce the meditation technique. Then week 3, we do something called an archetypal journey. And I take the person within themselves to meet the archetypes, which are the archetype means original pattern. And within each of us, there's preformed structures that are they're common to all. And we can go in and communicate with the individual parts. So you might have heard of the warrior, the lover, the magician, the king.
Yes.
Well, the warrior is your body, the lover is your heart, the magician is your intellect. When you've got the three of them communicating well, you can have a healthy king. Okay, so we've got these different, let's just say, internal voices that are giving us instructions or advice at all times. Whether we take that advice or not is up to us. But it's often hard to tell which voice is which. So imagine you've got a voice in your head telling you need to drink more water. Well, the chances are that's your warrior. And he wants you to drink more water because you need to be hydrated. So he's trying to give you this advice from the background. But what the archetypal journey enables you to do, it enables you to go in and separate the voices and communicate with the different parts. And if you can find out what the different parts want, you can bring more balance to the nervous system. So that's what it's all about. So it's all about find out what the different parts want, giving it to them and integrating it into your life. And that in turn, over time, brings balance to your nervous system. We then reinforce the journaling, reinforce the positive habits, reinforce the meditation tactic. And then week 4 is normally about, oh, this is the last week. So there's no fixed structure. It's like, okay, what do we need to do to help you to carry on with the changes that you've made? Okay, and like I say, the results and the feedback I've been getting from these particular sessions have been unbelievable.
It sounds wicked, man. That structure and to go with these techniques in that formula sounds very, very powerful. And I'm
Yeah,
curious, like, what what sort of issues would people come to you and to help with this?
different, so it might be someone who's got emotional problems, traumas from childhood. It could be someone who's trying to get better results in whatever sporting, athletic discipline they're involved in. So I've recently worked with a few amateur boxers, a couple of pro boxers. I worked with an athlete who does 100, 200 and 400-meter running events, all different. And like I say, I work with kids, I work with old people, I work with anyone because it's always like I see it this way. It's like it's a puzzle to solve. So when a person comes in, I've got a set of tools there, and they tell me what it is they want to work on, and then I figure that puzzle out using the tools that I've got.
That's brilliant. Cool, man.
Yeah, yeah, so yeah, and it's a lot. I'll be honest, I won't lie. It's a lot of fun, and I get to meet a lot of good people.
Yeah, and rewarding. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, like, it's a little bit about yourself. Like, what was it that sort of first? Okay, we'll start with why did you start doing this kind of work?
right. So in 2012, I had my third child on the way, right, and I had a massive cocaine and alcohol problem to the point that I was having it every day. And I knew that I had to do something to address this particular issue. So further down the line, I have started listening to the advice that was coming from within myself. Because you know yourself, there's little quiet voices that give you advice. They're trying to point you in the right direction. And a lot of the time, we drown them voices out with drinking drugs. But I started to listen to what was coming from inside. And some of the advice that was coming from inside was really good, and I'm really glad to listen to it. So it was like learn meditation, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go. So I started first off YouTube, guided meditations off YouTube. I had some unbelievable experiences. Like I felt feelings that I'd never felt before, and I had experiences, visual experiences, sensory experiences, and experiences with mind that I didn't even know were possible. So that got me interested. And then I realized that I might have got onto something that will really be able to help me. So I carried on with the meditation, started learning things about breath work. I went to do a transcendental meditation course, which was really good to get a mantra, learn some simple breathing techniques. And then further down the line, a friend of mine who I've been friends with for years, she suggested I should try Reiki. So, and I still remember my first Reiki session. I was a bit of a juice head then, right? And I've basically bounced into this woman's Reiki room. She's an old woman. And straight away, I've been like, what am I doing here? What's this old woman going to be able to do for me? And I lay down on the table, and I was probably only conscious for around, once I'd laid down on the table, 5 or 10 minutes. Then I floated off into this lovely, like, dream world where all sorts of things were happening. And then it didn't seem like it went really fast. And when I come back, I felt amazing. I couldn't explain how I felt. I'd gone in there that morning. I'd fasted, so I hadn't had any food. I hadn't had any sort of like weed or coffee, anything at all. I'd had nothing. So the only answer for how I was feeling was the fact that I just had Reiki off this lady and it felt unbelievable. Not like when you feel that happy, you want to jump up and kick your heels together, and it's like the world's just like this amazing place all of a sudden. That's what it felt like from one Reiki session. So I basically booked me and my partner in at the time to learn Reiki level 1, and then I carried it on. My partner at the time didn't carry it on, but I went not too long after to learn Reiki level 2, and then I basically begged and begged to do Reiki level 3, master level, for not to use it at the time because I was doing all this for myself at the time, but I wanted the attunement. I wanted to, because I felt expanded each time that I'd done work with this woman. And then I also, with the same lady, she does hypnosis, she does NLP, she does EFT, she's done hypnobirth and hypnogastric bands. So I ended up doing all of her courses. Every single course that this lady offered, I ended up doing all of them. And when I learned the hypnosis and learned the NLP, that's when I was able to overcome my own drug and alcohol problems, because I was able to process the thoughts and the feelings that were coming up that were making me want to escape from life.
That's
Yeah.
brilliantly put. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, uh, when you say it helped you process the thoughts and feelings, was it like you were aware of them or you expressed an emotion? Can you talk a little bit about that specifically? Because that's quite interesting.
Right. So there's 125 what are considered negative emotions. Okay. There's actually 25 different types of anger. There's 19 different types of fear. There's 15 different types of feeling bad. There's 9 different types of disgust. So these are all the emotions that we experience as humans. And I understand that we are very scared of our emotions because we don't understand them. They well up from nowhere. We get triggered by, things that we don't even know we're getting triggered by sometimes. We all get triggered by. So I understood that my problems were I was avoiding how I was feeling. Okay. So during the learning all these techniques, I've learned a lot about the different emotions that I was experiencing and learned to identify them. And then with NLP, you can separate your emotions, you can process them one by one. So I started doing that. So when I knew I was feeling and going to a low point where I'd normally go to an escape, well, I processed the emotion connected to it. The emotion, whether people understand this or not, each emotion's a frequency. Okay. And each emotion, when we're feeling it, holding our body, it makes us resonate at a certain frequency. So, do you know, if I'm resonating at the frequency of sadness, I'll invite more into my life that make me feel sad because I'm resonating at that frequency at the time. So, what I'd use is I'd make a tool, and this tool would make me feel love, make me feel gratitude, make me feel peace. And I'd use that tool to process the sadness. The sadness might start off, might feel like an 8 out of 10, very intense in the body. I'll take it down to 0. And then my body's full of love, gratitude, and peace then. So yeah, so as I was learning more about my own patterns of behavior, I started to understand them more, brought more awareness to them. And now I don't see my emotions as negative. I see my emotions as trying to keep me safe in some way, because that's what they're for. And I also understand that as a human, we get to feel the full range of the human experience. If we cut ourselves off from the feelings that feel uncomfortable, we cut ourselves off from everything.
And so,
Okay.
yeah. So, I'm really curious here, and just want to make sure I get my head around this technique that you've got, because it sounds very powerful. And so, you say that you created a tool. What do you
Yeah.
mean exactly by a tool to help you
Well,
go
so,
from the
oh,
sadness
I,
to?
I, I think to help you understand it better, we should help you create the tool.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just get my pen 1 second.
Sure.
Right. So what we're going to do with the tool itself, the positive part of the tool goes into the right hand, and
Okay.
then when we're processing any feelings, then we put the feelings into the left hand. Okay. So what I need from you, please, mate, I need
Do I need a pen and
a.
paper?
I know I've got pen and paper. I'll do it for me. Yeah?
Okay. Okay.
What I need from yourself, I need you to give me a group of 5 to 10 people with the names, if you want to me, these are basically people that you love.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, shoot.
Right. So I guess it would do it. Okay. Lisa. Uh, Damn, that's a hard question. So that's my mum, David, my dad, and I guess it'd be my other close family, Carol, John, and let's go for Tony.
Tony.
Yes.
Okay, is that everyone? Any animals? Any pets?
None that are alive. So yeah, none right now.
No problem. Okay. So, have you got a happy place in nature?
Yeah, I suppose my current happy place would be down by the beach nearby.
Yeah. So, what's your beach? What's the beach nearby called?
I'm not even sure, man. It's only a small little beach. It's not like a nice big grand one. I can
Okay.
visualize it though. Let's just say nice Welsh
As
beach.
long as, as long as you can visualize it, that's absolutely fine. If the
Okay.
weather was going to be perfect at the beach, what would it be like?
Oh, beautiful, bright blue skies.
Right. So, sunny day, bright blue skies. Right. So, just before we do it, I'll explain how it works as well. Right. So, the body doesn't know the difference between something real and something imagined. Okay. And the reason why this is the case is if you think about something from the past that you haven't overcome, you still feel the pain of that event, even though it's no longer happening in that moment. And then if you worry about the future and you worry about, say, like finances or bills or something like that, well, you feel the emotional response in your body, even though it's not happening in that time. Okay. So we're always responding to the imagination of it as if it's real. So then this means the imagination can be your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on how you use it.
Yes.
We're using this technique to make it your friend. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to place your hands, palms facing up, and close your eyes. And now into your right hand, I want you to imagine everything I'm about to say as if you are holding everything in your right hand. First, the group of people that you love. You've got your mum, Lisa, and your dad, David. Your Carol and John and Tony. And you're all at the local beach. It's a lovely sunny day. There's a bright blue sky above your head. Can you see this in your mind?
I can, yes.
Let it become even brighter, even louder, even more colourful, even more intense, even more vibrant and larger than life. Make a fist with your right hand and take 3 deep breaths in and out. This will lock it into your subconscious to be used any time that you need it. And after your third breath, bring your hands together, palm to palm. You will now feel a subtle release. When you feel that subtle release, take your hands apart and open your eyes. Okay. Now look around the room. Look how bright it's gone.
Yes, this is common when coming out of a nice meditation, right? It's energy, power. I
Yeah.
see. So the idea is you would use this, let's say, happy place, happy vibe, to sort of divert the brain, divert your
No,
thoughts.
no. It's actually right. It's actually more than that. It's an exchange of energy. Okay. So the release you're feeling is dense energies leaving your body because you're introducing faster moving energies into the body. Okay. What makes you stressed?
Women sometimes.
Women. What else?
My work can get pretty stressful, I suppose, when it's long days.
Okay. What else?
Hmm.
Do you get stressed by finances?
No, not really.
No. Okay. Life itself?
I guess there are certain challenges that I've taken upon myself that are quite grand in terms of trying to help humanity. I guess that kind of stresses me out a bit.
Okay. Challenges. Anything else?
I feel like that might be it.
No problem. So
Yeah.
what we're going to do now, right, is we're going to place all the things that create stress for you into your left hand. And then when you've got all that stress in your left hand, I'm going to ask you, how severe is that stress on a scale of 1 to 10? With 1 being not too bad and 10 being pretty bad. And then what happens is, say, like, for example, it was a 7. We'll take it down to a 0, okay? And the difference is, when it's a 7, it's triggering your fight or flight response, your sympathetic nervous system. When we take it to 0, it triggers your rest and digest response, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay? So bring your hands back, palms facing up, and close your eyes. Now into your left hand, I'd like you to begin to place anything that creates stress in your life. Okay? So that'd be women sometimes, your work, and any stress that comes with it, life itself, and the challenges that you've taken on to try to help others and humanity in general. And anything else that creates stress in your life, take to your left hand and put into your left hand using your imagination. At the same time, I'm going to ask Travis's subconscious allow the energy from that stress to leave his body and travel to his left hand. When you feel like you're holding all that stress in your left hand, say yes.
Yeah.
Score that feeling between 1 and 10.
So I guess I can feel like a bit of a sharp pain, like a little bit. So
Yeah,
that's
where's
not
where's the
that
where,
it's not that intense to be honest. I can feel that it's there though. There's like something there.
okay,
Interesting. It's in my
roughly?
other hand too.
Yeah, roughly.
It's getting stronger as I'm talking about it. I say about five, roughly. Yeah.
No problem. Make a fist with your right hand, activate your resource. You're back in your happy place with the people you love. Let it become bright, loud, colourful, and intense. Bring your hands together. Keep your hands together till you get the subtle release. After the release, take your hands apart, but keep your eyes closed.
I've got something in my third eye there. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's the process of that in the brow center. Okay, now go again. Place all the stress into your left hand again using your imagination and feel the energy from the stress leave every cell to travel to your left hand. When you feel the stress in your left hand, say yes.
Yeah, there it is. There's some
Okay, you
pain
start
there.
feel a little bit lighter?
Well, I feel like I'm actually focusing a little bit better, so it feels a little bit stronger.
Oh no, that's absolutely
Yes,
fine. So what is
yes.
out of 10 now?
I'd say it's just still about 6, but yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, make a fist with your right hand, activate your resource. You are back in your happy place with the people you love. Let it become bright, loud, colourful, and intense. Bring your hands together. Keep your hands together until you feel a release. And after the release, take your hands apart, but keep your eyes closed. Okay, go again. Place on all the stress into your left hand using your imagination. Feel the energy from the stress leave every cell to travel to your left hand. When you feel it in your left hand, say yes.
Yeah,
Does that feel lighter this time?
it does actually. I feel like I'm getting quite relaxed too, so this is quite
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, you will be. So what is your now out of 10, would you say, mate?
Yeah, about a 4. So it's
Make
yeah, yeah.
make a fist with your right hand, activate your resource. You're back in your happy place with the people that you love. And become bright, loud, colourful, and intense. Bring your hands together. Keep your hands together till you feel the release. And then one last time, place all the stress into your left hand using your imagination. Feel the energy from that stress leave every cell to travel to your left hand. When you feel the stress in your left hand, say yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, is that a 2?
Say again.
Is that a 2?
No, it's probably still around a 4, roughly. Yeah, about there
So,
still.
so, so, so what that means, there's something stuck on the body, so we'll now use light as well. Make a fist with your right hand, activate your resource. You're in your happy place with the people you love. Let it become bright, loud, colourful, and intense. Bring your hands together. Also, imagine you're surrounded by a white and gold light. And now I want you to imagine you can inhale that white and gold light into the areas I'm about to say. First, inhale it into the base of your spine, around the area where your pelvic floor muscles are. When this area feels relaxed, say yes.
Okay, yeah.
Now inhale it into your lower abdomen, about 4 inches below your belly button. When this area feels relaxed, say yes.
Yeah.
Now inhale that light into your solar plexus, and when this area feels relaxed, say yes.
Yeah.
Now inhale it into the center of your chest, and when you feel relaxed in this area, say yes.
Yeah.
Now inhale the light into your throat, and when you feel relaxed in this area, say yes.
Yep.
Now inhale that light into the center of your forehead, and when you feel a release from this area, say yes.
Okay, yeah.
Now inhale it into the crown of your head. When you feel relaxed in this area, say yes.
Yes.
Now keep your eyes closed, take your hands apart. Now begin to place all that stress into your left hand again using your imagination. And feel the energy from that stress leave every cell to travel to your left hand. When you feel it in your left hand, say yes.
Okay, it's interesting. It's like it's glowing a little bit.
Like it's glowing a little bit. So
Yes.
what's it gone down to now?
Well, it's almost pleasurable. It's almost like,
It's almost visible. So, and do
yes.
you feel really clear in the center of your forehead?
Ah, yes, absolutely.
That's absolutely perfect. Then now you can open your eyes. Okay, and you'll see it's warm. It's brighter outside again. So what you've just done is with that clear feeling in the head, you just processed that stress for this time. So what you've done is you've switched off your nervous system. So when you think of things that create stress, or you get about something that creates stress, it's your nervous system. And then what you've just done because you've now processed it for this time, you switched your sympathetic nervous system off. So that's why you feel nice and relaxed, and you feel like probably a lot more present.
Yes.
Nice, that isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, thanks, bro.
No, not a problem. So bear in
Yeah.
mind, like I say, there's 125 what we call negative emotions, uh, and if you can nail some of the ones that affect you the most, then you can bring so much relief and so much more enjoyment into your life.
So I guess the correct term would be it's like a transmutation of the energy.
Yeah, yeah. I look at it as like a form of alchemy. So you're
Yeah.
alchemizing the energy basically and turn it to something else.
Yeah, that's powerful. I can see how that would be effective. Yeah.
Yeah, but the great part about this is, right, so when I've done a session with someone, I always make sure to say at the end, remember, we've just done all those techniques using something that was already present in your mind. So you had the answers all the time. You just didn't know where they were. Okay, so then it's empowering the person and to realize they've got the resource they need to work through their issues, but you just didn't know where they were. So we basically showing a person where their resources are.
Yes, yes, and it's interesting actually because it's like I was on a call earlier and we're speaking about drugs and we're speaking about how you can create your own drugs, so to speak, in your mind with your beliefs, with your breath work, with your meditation, stuff like this.
The human body is full of drugs. We
Yeah,
just need to know how to access them.
yeah, man, I like that. Okay, cool. So this has been really awesome, man. I'd like to just touch on your experience with Kambo.
Yes.
Yeah, so unpack that because there'll be people who won't even know what that is. So let's get into that.
So Kambo is a medicine that comes from a giant tree frog from the Amazon, and the Amazonian tribes have used Kambo for thousands of years for things such as initiations, fertility, to remove negative energy, and they also have it in the morning before they go on a big hunt because it gets rid of fear. So in the West, we use it combined with a strong intention. So, say for example, I get you to think about a particular emotional pattern that affects you, and then give you Kambo. The emotional response will trigger your nervous system, and then the Kambo will reset your nervous system on that particular issue. Very, very clever. And I can tell you the original story that we've been told of how it came about.
Yeah,
So,
please. Yeah.
there was a tribe in the Amazon thousands of years ago, and their shaman. So that the tribe was sick, and he had a sickness that the shaman was struggling to be able to help them with. So he's got into the middle of the jungle with a load of ayahuasca. He's drank the aya, and the aya during the journey has taught him about the frogs and taught him about singing a song to bring the frogs down from the trees and how to take the secretions from their skin and put it onto burns on people's bodies, and how it'll absorb in and initiate a cleanse of the system. So he's gone to find the frogs, he's sung the song, brought them down from the trees, and then he's took the secretions back to his tribe and he healed them of the illnesses that they had. So for thousands of years now, the different tribes of the Amazon, like the Matsis and the Yawanawa and a lot of other different indigenous groups, right across the Amazon from like the border. A lot of it's on the border of like Brazil and Peru, and they still use it up to this day. But they give it to their kids and everything. They give it to pregnant
Yeah, right.
ladies. Yeah, yeah. So the frog itself uses the secretion as a sunblock. So in the Amazon, you have a dry season. And because the Kambo frog, it's called the Phylum Medusa bicolor. And because the frog doesn't live in water at all, it's arboreal, so it lives in trees. During the dry season, to keep itself moist and protected from the sun, it rubs the secretion all over its skin. And then, yeah, the tribespeople go and take it off and put it onto little wooden pallets that we get to use over here as well.
And so, what has been your personal experience with it?
So I've done it in total, I think, 23 times now. And I've found, right, out of all the different medicines I've used, so I've used different medicines for myself and for other people, DMT, mushrooms, and various other substances such as them. And I found Kambo to be the best because, well, a couple of reasons really. One, it's legal. So that's a massive benefit, a massive bonus because you can openly advertise it because it's legal. And then I find Kambo's easier to work with in terms of the person's experience. 95% of experiences on DMT are going to be very enlightening experiences. 5% of experiences on DMT are going to be dark as fuck and they're going to scare the life out of people. So you don't get that with Kambo. It's all a physical experience. There's nothing psychoactive about it. It's all a physical challenge. And I like the challenge aspect of it because it's not like it's easy. it's a real challenge to put yourself through that and
Yeah.
put yourself through the process. And you get really richly rewarded on the other side of the process. And we also use with the Kambo 2 other medicines. We use something called Sananga, which it also comes from a plant from the Amazon, and it's a eye medicine. So it's like eye drops, and I won't lie, it stings. It hurts, like it really, really hurts.
Yes.
It's really challenging. But if you get a person to set an intention, their nervous system becomes triggered. You give them Sananga, it settles their nervous system and prepares it to let go. So then when you give them Kambo, the Sananga has already done a lot of that work before they have Kambo. They're already ready to let go. And then we use Hape, which is it's a tobacco snuff made from Mapacho tobacco, which has been burnt and dried into ashes and mixed with the ashes of other plants. And you blow that up the nose. So if someone's got blockages, like they're struggling to get a page out, you'll give them some Hape, and the Hape will help the process along. And the Hape itself can be, the Sananga and the Hape on their own are really good standalone medicines. But when you combine those three, you give someone the best possible chance of a good result.
Okay. And I'm curious, is it like somebody comes to you and they have a certain issue and you're like, well, you should do Cambo or you should do the practice or the package you spoke about before, or do people sort of choose themselves what they want to do?
People normally choose themselves, but I'll always go to first where the person will be. I'll always try to advise them to go for the natural route where they don't have to use anything external first and foremost.
Yeah.
But if someone particularly wants to have a Kambo experience, I'm happy to facilitate it because I've seen through experience now, like the results that people get and the feedback that you get, and the long lasting results as well. So I'm happy to work with the Kambo as well. But my go to with everyone, I get a lot of people asking me, do you think I should start microdosing? Do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do that? And I always be like, listen, you want to try first to do things with nothing external. You want to
Yeah.
try with internal processes first and then see how you get on. So I'd always say internal first, and then if you want to try some external things, fair enough, but just do it in a responsible manner where it's not going to cause any harm.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, man. Have you got anything else you'd like to share whilst I got you here?
Uh, I'm not too sure. Along the lines of, give me something.
Anything that comes up, man. This is the little question I throw to everybody at the end.
So anything.
Anything
I,
you'd
I,
say to the people.
I think the main thing I'd like to say to people is all the answers are within yourself. So when you're seeking, obviously you need to read books and you need to take in information and podcasts and these sort of things, but try to find ways to seek a lot of those answers within, because going within yourself, you will find a lot that will really surprise you in a pleasant way.
Love that. Powerful, man. And where can people find you if they want to find more about you?
I'd say mainly on Instagram. I've got a page, the Mind Shaman 1111. The logo is an alien wearing a feathered headdress.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
That's probably the best place to contact me. And yeah, that's probably because I'll be honest with you, Facebook's not very good, so I don't really bother with it much. But Instagram is it's really useful for this
Yeah,
sort of work and connecting people.
absolutely. Well, awesome. Cheers for joining me.
Okay, thank you very much, Travis, and it was nice to connect with you, mate. I'm
Sweet,
sure
man.
I'll see you at the beach again soon.
Absolutely. Sweet, bro.
It's like that. Thank you very much.